What's up, everyone? Welcome to Bluegrass State of Mind, the show where three college roommates talk life, sports, and all the ridiculous things that happen in an apartment we like to refer to as Room 302. We're bringing you stories, hot takes, and the kind of late-night debates that probably should have stayed in the group chat.
So grab your headphones, sit back, and get ready for a wild ride through our past college life, sports, and everything in between. Let's get into it. This is Bluegrass State of Mind.
Welcome back to another episode of Bluegrass State of Mind. First off, just want to thank everybody for listening in. I know that it's a season of Kentucky is not, I guess, as relevant because, it's the off-season. Football is not really kicked into gear yet. Basketball is not in play. So baseball is. We've not really talked a lot of Kentucky baseball. I follow Kentucky baseball a little, but not like an avid Kentucky baseball. Colton, I'm sure you and a little bit more.
They're doing okay. They've had some big wins. Had a couple at Tennessee. They stole 2 out of 3 games a couple weeks ago. Won a couple games. I think they lost last night to WKU though. But WKU's had a really good year. Also, I can't remember what the record was, but it was really good. Obviously, UK baseball made it to Omaha last year for like maybe the first time ever. So that was exciting. So I know it kind of made me focus a little more on UK baseball, but they're doing all right. I think they're going to make the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I think they were top 25. I don't know if they are now, but I think they're like.
I think they're going to. They're going to make the NCAA tournament. I don't know, maybe as a 2 or 3 seed. Like they splits up in the 1 through 4 seeds in a bunch of different regions, and I think they'll be like a 2 seed in a region or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can get in baseball sometime. But
yeah, for sure. But just want to thank everybody who is continuing to watch our streams that we post that you can watch, and just the audio itself on other streams. We enjoy doing this, and that's why we're still doing it. So let's get into tonight's episode. So our first one is we're just going to give a little NBA update. We're not going to talk too long on this. Obviously, you spent a little bit of time on the last episode talking about it. But you've got currently right now the Warriors looks like they're going to lose, so that will then move this series to a 3-2 series, which will be very interesting. The Lakers play later on when we're recording this. If they win, it would move to 3-2. The Clippers Nuggets are 3-2. And then you have the Celtics who completed their 4-1 series, so they'll move on to the second round. The Pistons and Knicks are in 3-2. And then the Pacers has completed their series win over the Bucks last night, which is what I want us to start tonight off with. If you are unaware of the situation that occurred, there was a big kind of scandal at the end of the game. So you had the Milwaukee Bucks, you had Giannis, who honestly played really good, and you had some other guys who had been playing well for the Bucks, but they choked that game away. I mean, went into overtime, completely choked it away.
Up 7 with 35 seconds left.
Yeah, so I mean that is the ultimate choke job, kind of like Duke. But shout out to Tyler Glass on that one.
Shout out, Duke.
Always got to throw that in there. But the real story headlines for that game was the after the game. Whenever you have Tyrese Halliburton's dad, who is just the kind of dad that you want on your very supportive. But what proceeds to happen is he goes onto the court, and you don't see that. You don't see that, like not even often. You don't see that. A father of one of the NBA players goes to the court to the other team's star player in Giannis Antetokounmpo and just gets in his face and kind of is waving his jersey at Giannis and kind of letting him know, we here, this is who we are. Yeah, and I was kind of baffled by it, to be honest with you all. Like, I couldn't believe that. I know he's the dad, but I couldn't believe that he actually was able to make his way out there. Like, people were letting him get in to mid-court. Like, it wasn't even on the sidelines. It was like mid-court. And then Giannis kind of shakes hands and then proceeds to go back to the dad and confront him again. It was just a lot was going on. Mason, what was kind of your initial thoughts on that? Is that something that's okay? Is that something that maybe the NBA needs to take a look at and kind of further, not investigate, but kind of get restrictions in play? Not that,
Yeah.
and the thing about it, this might be the first thing. I mean, this has not really ever happened. I don't think that I can recall in my time of watching where a family member. I mean, you think of the Joker, his brothers would get into it, but they stayed in the stands and were doing it. And like they were that's just fan interaction. Like whenever going on the middle of the basketball game, the game had just ended. I mean, that's a different level. So what was kind of your thoughts on that whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, obviously wild, right? I mean, like you said, there was a lot going on. And like you said, I don't really recall anything like this ever happening. I mean, I remember, a couple years ago, Ja Morant's dad was pretty involved. He didn't ever
Oh,
do
that's
anything
another.
like this,
Yeah, he's
I
the
don't
only other
think,
dad I
but
could really think
Yeah,
of that
that's a good.
was.
Yeah, I forgot about
I,
him.
he never did anything this extreme, but he was very vocal and kind of there on the court side, talking to players and getting them fired up and things. Nothing to this extent.
Didn't he
But
get into it with
yeah,
Shannon Sharp?
Yeah,
yeah, I couldn't remember
yeah,
who
the
it was,
Lakers
but
game.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, like you said, something I don't understand how he was able to kind of get all the way out to center court. I get he's a player's dad, but they're going through the handshake line. They just lost a series. Pacers won the series. I mean, it was kind of bizarre to me to see that happen. But I definitely think there needs to be something. I don't know what you really put in place. I mean, you have ushers and things down there trying to prevent people from getting on the floor, but obviously it's not okay in my eyes. And shout out to Giannis for not doing anything super stupid. I know he kind of got in his face and they were arguing, going back and forth, which I mean, who wouldn't? At that point, if somebody's in my face talking
Just
crap to me, I'm going to say something
destroy that
back.
man.
Yeah.
He would
Espe-
destroy. I mean,
And
like, come on.
I think that especially the heat of the moment, like you just lost a series. It wasn't a close game. You played good. You played hard,
Just
and
pretty much
yeah,
blew it.
yeah, you blew it. And honestly, the Bucks have struggled the past 3 years. They've not been able to win series. And you also are dealing with some what ifs. Damian Lillard went out,
Yep.
so that's a what if. Like we didn't even have our full team healthy. You are a champion. You are a league MVP. So like that takes some. I mean, to go up to I would say a top 5 NBA player for the past what 5 to 6 years, maybe.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, like it was kind of extreme. I thought.
Yeah, I agree. And like you said, Giannis, he had a lot more to lose in that situation, obviously, than Halliburton's dad did. And great for him for showing that restraint. I mean, I probably would not have had the same restraint, especially like you said, coming off all the scenarios. Somebody gets up in my face. I'm a little guy, but still, I'm probably not going to be able to restrain myself after, all those emotions that are going through. My season just ended. We kind of just gave the game away. Who knows what my future looks like, with this program at this point. So shout out to Giannis for not really doing anything stupid, but like you said, something that can't happen. That's just unacceptable. And I think part of that probably came from some this season. Halliburton didn't have a great season this year compared to what he had last year. I know there was some talk throughout the season, him being overrated and was last season a fluke. I'm sure that was part of the emotions flowing from his dad, but unacceptable, can't happen. And I don't really know what you do to limit it, but something has to be done. You can't let those fans, family members, whoever it is out there on the court getting up in people's face.
Yeah. I don't. Before I send it over to you, Cohen, I thought Giannis had a great post game. His comments on it, and virtually what he was saying was, like I've been here. My place is solidified in the NBA. Like, and he wasn't bragging about it. He was just stating facts. He's like, I am an NBA champion. Like, obviously, my emotions are running high. And then he talked about his dad. How he how he grew up. Like, in when he wins, he's humble. And he tries to stay very humble. And that's what he was. That was his main point. He was like, flowers are given to India. They played great. They won, but let's also be humble about it in a sense. Indianapolis has not done anything like in a long time. I mean, they've won some series, but like they've kind of been not irrelevant, but they've not been what the Bucks have been, in that sense. But go ahead, Colton. What were some of your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, Giannis handled it well. I'll give a shout out to Halliburton though. He did come out in the press conference and was like, "I don't, my dad did not need to be doing that." So I mean, he stood up and was like that. His actions were not right. Um, and I'm like you. Some emotions probably come out. I don't really know why it was directed towards Giannis. But where Halliburton was voted the most overrated player in the NBA, like it'd been different if like Giannis would have came out in a press conference and was like, "Yeah, I was one of the guys who voted for that." Like, or there was been something like that happened. Then okay, I'm not saying it's okay, but I'm just saying like I could really see where those emotions come out in the dad. That your son just took down a guy that's called you overrated, whatever. You go up to him, but like as far as I can recall, I don't know that Giannis has said anything to him, so I don't know exactly why they
Wait,
were
so
directing that.
I'm on that. So was that a vote? What word did you
Yeah,
said?
there was a vote, like an actual vote for amongst the NBA players
So I
of
didn't.
the
This
most
is new. This is news to me. I didn't know that they
of
had.
the
I
most
guess I've not seen
overrated of the
this.
most overrated NBA player in the league. And I
Hmm.
think Halliburton won it, didn't he, Mason?
That's what I'm looking at right now. Yeah, he did.
I didn't
Yeah.
see this.
So
He
Halliburton,
tweeted
yeah.
after the game. Did y'all see him tweet after the
What did he
game?
say? What did he
It was
say?
something about still think I'm overrated, something to that extent about
Yeah.
him
But
being
anyhow,
overrated.
so like I said, if Giannis would have had some part in that, or he'd have made a comment in the media beforehand saying, yeah, or throughout that series saying like he thinks Halliburton was overrated, like
Well, his
okay,
beef was with Damian Lillard the whole series. Damian Lillard, because I don't know if you
yeah,
remember in the
yeah,
play-in
Halliburton
tournament,
but actual
they
Halliburton and yeah,
Halliburton was doing the Dame time thing. So the beef was between Halliburton and Dame. So I don't really know. I mean, obviously that's Giannis's teammate, but yeah, I agree
yeah.
with that. I don't really know where Giannis came
I
into play in
I don't
this.
know. I mean, Halliburton, like, did he even see a minute for the USA team this
Mm,
past year? I don't think he even
not
got
much. I
put
mean, he
in for
did,
this.
but not. It was
Maybe
scrap
I mean
minutes.
barely. So I don't know. Maybe it's just a bunch of emotions, and I don't know why he's attacking all these different players. Maybe just trying to be amongst the stars and like put his name up there. Halliburton's a good young player. I mean, he's a good player. He's got he's going to be pretty good in this league for a while, but he hasn't earned those type of flowers yet,
Yeah,
and he's got a long way to go.
he tweeted overrate that, and that was all caps. So
Yeah, so
he kind of fired back too after,
yeah, I mean, I
that I
there's a
think
lot
that's what
going
it
on.
all
I'm like
stemmed
Dylan. There's
from.
a lot going on there for a team that's, I mean,
Never
they
won an
were,
NBA championship.
yeah, and they were favored to win. It's not like, I mean, poor old Bucks. I mean, Lillard was hurt, and then he was out because of the blood clot, and then
Yeah.
he comes back and he immediately tears his Achilles, and you don't have Chris Middleton because you've traded him. You've got a 40-year-old Brook Lopez who wants to shoot threes. I mean,
Mm,
Gary Trent Jr., who's been around the league everywhere, as all of a sudden your second best player,
yeah.
and they want to brag. Like I, I'm not even now. I'm somewhat going against the Pacers. I don't even have any beef with them too. I want to kind of become. I kind of got some beef with the Pacers now.
Anti
Colton,
Pacers.
if there's one series, Colton, that's kind of like you're looking at, like it interests you, what series would you say and kind of why? Because I mean, like you look at the Clippers, Nuggets, Pistons, Knicks, and now going to be the Warriors, Rockets, and the Lakers. If they were to win, those all those series would be turned to a 3-2 series. Very, very close. So if there's one series kind of that is on your lookout, like this could get really good, what are you looking at? What out of those games? Not just pick one, and then Mason, I'll let you pick
I,
one, and then
to me, it's the Knicks and Pistons, and really because now you're heading back to Detroit. That game they have been. I mean, every single game has been close. And really, Detroit's been in control for most of those games. Even the games that they
yep,
didn't
they
end up
have
winning,
been.
they were in control of a lot of those games. Now they're heading back with some confidence, back to their own place to make it a 3-3. And the
Well,
Knicks have not been known.
they also had their. I mean that foul at the end of the game in game three, maybe at
Yeah.
where is that Detroit
Oh,
or
they
game
should have got
four?
called in the
That
corner
should have. Yeah,
three. Yeah.
I think it was game
So I
four. No,
mean,
it was game four.
Game 4.
So
yeah. So I think that series could get interesting because the Knicks will feel a lot of pressure if they
mhm.
come back to a game seven. I mean,
I
I don't
saw
think anyone's
us.
expecting to beat the Celtics, but the Knicks are like people are ready for the Knicks to take that next step. But you
Yeah.
cannot lose to the Pistons. Like you play Celtics next round and you may not win that, and I don't think people are expecting you to, but they want to see it because they want to see you be competitive and maybe win it. If you lose to the Pistons, you're going
Yeah.
backwards. So
Going to be a lot of heat.
There was a stat that in that game, excuse me, it showed that was four closeout games in a row at home that the Knicks had lost, and due to that losing, that's the fifth game consecutive that they have lost to close out at home. You got to close those home games out in the NBA playoffs.
Yeah. And something real quick on that series itself, one thing, Jalen Brunson was voted the most clutch player in the NBA this year. Where's that been at? I seen the stat pop up yesterday when I was watching the game. He was like first, second for like every category, late game. He was voted most clutch player. He got that award last night before the game. And kind of seems like to me he hadn't really shown up at the end of games. They've had a couple games they should have closed out and won, and they did. Game 4, I think they got lucky. Cade Cunningham had a great look to tie it, and then they didn't call the foul. But also, one thing that stood out to me, did y'all watch that game?
I watched some of it, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Okay. Did you watch the very end of it, like the last minute and a half, 2 minutes? So
I didn't watch the last. Like I said, I watched some of it, but not a lot of it.
So what happened at the end was they had, their starters in. Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart. Josh Hart both kind of got banged up a little bit. All right. And they probably went out with 2.5, 3 minutes left on the clock, just to kind of shake it off. Tom Thibodeau did not call a timeout. They stayed out of the game for the last 2 minutes until there was 27 seconds left on the clock. And I was like, what are you doing? They only had one timeout left, and I get
Were they at the scores table at all?
They were at the scores table, yes. One, either take a foul, get your best players, 2 of your best players back in the game, or call that last time out. You're in the playoffs with a chance to close out the series. And I was like, that is just absurd to me that he did not call timeout or have somebody foul. Go up and foul Thompson. I know he's athletic and he's good for him, but he can't shoot. Just foul somebody, take a foul, and get them back in the game. So I think that was a big key in the ending of that game there. And for him to not call that timeout and get them back in the game somehow was crazy to me.
Mason, what series are you looking at?
So I like that one, but I'll go with a little bit of a different one. Clippers Nuggets.
I like that one too.
That one's really interesting to me, and it's been a great series. Kind of like the Knicks Pistons. They've pretty much all been close games. One thing to me that we kind of see with the Nuggets, playoff Jamal Murray. I mean, he is just different when it comes to the playoffs. I feel like every year he kind of has a mediocre, season throughout the season, and playoffs roll around. He just steps his game up. And, they were talking about it a little bit last night during the game that as far as numbers-wise go, there hasn't ever been a player with greater increases from regular season to the playoffs than Jamal Murray. So if he can continue that, we talked about it early on before the playoffs started, but I mean, if he can play like that the whole playoffs, Nuggets are very dangerous there in the West and could come out of the West. But also, the Clippers, I mean, they've been playing well, and Zubac, he's kind of come on big this year. He's improved a lot and been a big key piece for them. I think he had close to 30 last night. So that's an interesting series to me, them going back to Los Angeles for Game 6. So I still think the Nuggets pull it off, they'll be back, even if they lose this next one, they'll be back in Denver for Game 7, and I think they'll pull that out. But that's an interesting one to me.
Well, I'm gonna just choose a different one as well. If I had to pick one though, it would have been the Nuggets Clippers. I've watched a lot of that series, and I really, really have enjoyed that one. It's kind of like what Colton said. It's that old man series. Or not old man, but it's the veteran series.
Players, yeah.
They've been there. Each one of them has been in the playoffs. You have multiple MVP winners on those teams. So very interesting there. But I'm going to go with the Rockets and Warriors because the Rockets are about to close this game 5 out, and it'll move to 3-2, headed back to the Warriors. And the reason why I say this is because every game that the Warriors have lost, it's not been a close game. When they lose pretty big. And I think anytime that the Warriors win, it's kind of close. Not always, but I mean, it's a lot closer. Yeah. If the Rockets can find a way to win Game 6 at the Warriors, then I think the Rockets win this series. And the reason why I say that is just because I think that the Warriors are just hit or miss. When they're on, all cylinders are firing. And why is that? Because it comes down to Steph. It does. They just don't have enough firepower from anybody else. Jimmy Butler he's so sporadic. He's been great in this series, but Jimmy Butler also has his moments where he kind of is not a no-show, but he has got to be a scorer, and that's not really what
Yeah.
Jimmy Butler has.
Sometimes he's just a little better offensive Draymond is
Yeah,
really what he is. Like, he's a
yeah,
guy that
he's
does a
not.
little of everything. He's got obviously more of an offensive game, but sometimes he's just that type of player. But
Yeah, and I think that's why Butler didn't. I mean, obviously, I know he got the heat to in the bubble, like to in the championship game, in the finals against the Lakers. But that's not who Jimmy Butler is. I think Jimmy Butler is a great 2-star. Like, he's the second star. He's not that guy. His offensive game's just not there. In my opinion, like collectively, game in, game out. He just doesn't hit me as that type, and I think he would agree to that. Actually wouldn't agree to it, but I think you all know what I'm trying to say is that that's just not who he is. So I think that series is very, very interesting. Hey, the NBA playoffs though as a whole has not failed. I think that it's been great series all around. Even the Magic Celtics game, I know it was a 4-1, but if anybody watched that series at all, it was a great series. About every game was close. Not all, but I mean, it was competitive. Um, the only series though that wasn't is, I would say, the Cleveland series. Even the Thunder, they played. Who did that? They played,
Memphis,
yeah, Memphis, and it was kind of, and Ja, he wasn't
I
fully
got
healthy there.
hurt.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
got hurt. So,
Did y'all see what he said? He
Yeah,
uh,
he
said
said if he wouldn't have been hurt, they'd have been 2-2.
he said
He
I
had
had
it
them
figured
figured
out.
out. I was like, shut up.
Stop, stop. Like,
That's weird.
no,
we have a lot.
I'm in agreement with the Rockets. I really think if I'm not wrong, out of the first 5 games of this series, I think the Rockets have led at halftime in 4 of them. Like, even a couple, and I mean, even the couple that the Warriors
So
have
basically,
won,
like Detroit, like
they
in
were down at
control.
halftime. Like, they've been in control of most of these games. And like you said, I just think that I just keep telling myself though that, like, I can't see Steph, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond knowing that their type of like attitudes. Like, I can't see them allowing themselves to lose 3 straight games. You know what I'm saying? It's like they will die before they allow themselves to lose 3 straight games. So I keep
Yeah.
telling myself that I think they will finish it off.
I
But
can
yeah,
see
I
Steph
mean, if it
coming
comes
out.
back to Houston, I mean, you never know. I mean, I could also see it coming back to Houston and then the Warriors winning it at Houston.
Yeah.
But it'd be interesting. Some of these are going to get
That's,
really tight.
I'd say Steph will have a big game next game.
Something to
Pro-
happen. Yeah, I mean, they
Probably
take it
40
so to
plus.
heart. Those are 3 guys that you're just like, it just seems like when their backs against the wall, like they come out, and I I would think they'll probably finish out, but it's a good series.
All right. Well, that's it on the NBA update. Colton, lead us into our next segment.
Yeah, so I don't know how many people have been following some of the UK off season. Obviously, the landscape of college sports has changed with the NIL money, and there's been a big case going on in like the courts and different things about essentially allowing what what's trying to happen is they're essentially trying to get a cap on what the schools can give. So they're trying to control it a little bit, where they're just kind of throwing money and there's not really a cap or there's not really limits. And I won't lie, that I think that is kind of needed. However, now you've opened up such a door with all these different sponsors coming in, these people wanting NIL, these different, businesses wanting to donate, that if all of a sudden it's capped, it's going to hurt their business too, and it's going to hurt some of theirs. And so what Kentucky has done, if anyone has followed, is they have essentially set up to where the athletics department is going to be its own separate entity. Like, they're going to be a business essentially that's going to be associated with the school, and they'll have some school principles and the as far as like the steel requirements, stuff like that. But what this allows them to do, that even if this case goes through, that essentially caps what the university themselves are allowed to give to players, this separate athletics program business. What did we say it was called? Mason Champions Blue.
Champions
That's what
Blue
they're calling
LLC.
themselves. This will essentially allow them to bring in money and run as a separate business to where there's no cap to it. If they need money and different revenue streams coming in, that it allows you to stay competitive with other schools. It allows you to be on top of the game as far as being able to offer the most money compared to other schools, where there's not just a cap for you. And so I think that's interesting because I think Kentucky's trying to get out ahead. They see where the landscape's going, and they understand that as a top tier, especially basketball program, but you're good in multiple sports, but a top tier, I mean, basketball program, you should always have the one of the top revenue streams for basketball, 100% to offer in the NIL. And I think they just want to get ahead of that to make sure that they are that going forward, right? We've talked about all the rumors about how much, Kentucky spent this year, and they know going forward that's essentially what it's going to be. That they're going to have to be one of those top schools that spends the most, and they should be with the tradition that we have and the college basketball program we are. They should always have that. So I think it's interesting. I don't know all the details to the scenario and exactly how it'll be in place and how it'll affect some other things. But it sounds like they are preparing to get out in front of a lot of this thing, and I think overall it's going to be beneficial for the athletics program. What do you think, Mason?
Yeah, so basically, like you said, it's just going to allow them to open up new revenue streams, right? Investing in businesses, real estate, things like that, from what I've read. So it gave an example in one article I was reading about like how UK in recent years has acquired two major hospitals, right? So one in Ashland, I think, and the other one Moorhead, maybe, somewhere throughout, Kentucky. But basically, what happens is, they invest in these things and they still report to the university and its board of trustees, right? So like this business entity, it's kind of going to be like an NBA program, right? You're going to have a GM, you're going to have them who report to the board. So we talked about this in recent, episodes here about what this was trending towards, and we're already seeing that. We're 2 years into this thing, and it's turning where it's turning into a business is what it is, right? And it's still going to be focused around the university, but allowing them to bring in more revenue and still keeping, like you said, those same policies and principles that the university wants them to have, but allowing them to kind of focus on how to grow that revenue and bring in more revenue to the athletic department so we can fund that NIL. So it'll be interesting to see, kind of what takes place over the next couple of years with this, and if there's any changes that come out about limiting this for things. But I think it's a good step, for the university. You have somebody, a group of people who can focus on that. And then you have, the basketball, the football program. They can focus on coaching and doing their job and recruiting. And everybody else kind of worries about bringing in that money and helping grow it for the entire athletic program at Kentucky.
Yeah, I don't really have any thoughts on it myself because I've not done any research on it at all. Whenever you all had talked to me about this before the episode, it's been one of those days I told you all I didn't do a lot of research on it so I apologize to the viewers out there. But
We'll let it
I,
slide this time.
yeah, let it
Yeah.
slide this time. But I mean, I guess the only thing I do want to say is it is interesting though that we're talking about a business side of it when we're talking about sports. Sports, it in a sense is a business. It is sports but not to this extent. To where you have your own separate entity of somebody running a business with the school, having to. It's got to be a good thing because obviously it's going to open up more jobs for schools. I guess my question for you all, if you know, would are we the first to do this? Like I said, I don't know anything about this, and I'm just talking like I
I
would be
do
anybody
think
else.
that we are one of the first, if not the first, public school to do it. There are already like Duke has something similar, but they are a private school technically. And so there's different things when it comes to private school because their funding comes already from different areas, right? That they're not, uh, they're getting funding outside of like a lot of the places. And so I think Duke already had something like this similar set up, obviously, and it makes sense because when the NIL changed, you started seeing, but it seemed like Duke was still getting all these top recruits coming in, even when the NIL, how we started seeing a lot of, we saw the guys go to Rutgers, the Ace Bailey, the Dylan Harper, right? But Duke was still getting these guys year in and year out, the Cooper Flags, right? So I think they've already had something like that set up, but I do think that we actually might be the first public school to kind of go in this direction and get this in place.
Hmm. I guess I mean, it's a good thing though. I mean, that Kentucky's ahead of the game, like you all said, and we're one of the first to do it. I mean, we are a blue blood, so this might shape the landscape of college basketball. Mason, you have any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, as far as I know, like you said, I think we're the first to do this, but you're kind of seeing other schools kind of shift towards this more business model and having like a GM, like Shaq, for example. Y'all saw that come out,
I
Sacramento
did see
State.
Sacramento
that.
State,
Yeah.
and Mikey
Yeah,
Williams went there.
yeah.
See that? Yeah.
Yes. So, I mean, I think you'll see more this offseason, but I think really after this season, if nothing is put into place, you're going to start to see, a lot more schools kind of adopt this and move into more of that business model where they have somebody who kind of oversees operations, and handles those kind of things. So it'll be interesting to see if this NIL stuff, if they don't set something down to the courts and, get something set in stone, then whole landscape's going to continue to change for the next couple of years.
Yeah. All right. Well, Jax Ulbrich. If you don't know that name, you will know that name by the end of this episode. Jax Ulbrich. This is a kid who kind of took the spotlight really quick over the NFL draft. So why is that name important? So as
Wait,
many of
I'm
you
getting a
all,
call
you're getting a
from
call.
Jack Ulbrich.
Oh, okay.
Oh, are you ready to be a Atlanta Falcon?
Wait, are the Falcons calling me? It must be them.
I thought you were serious for a second. I was like, what in the world?
We got a position for you.
All right, now
We're going to put you
now
in.
we've set the scene.
Every possession we get
have.
down to the 2-yard line, we're going to put you in and see if you can get in, Cole.
Yeah.
There you go.
So
that
Jack,
was it.
over to the NFL draft, Shador Sanders, obviously, like we stated in our last episode, was selected in the 5th round. But earlier, it may have been in the 2nd round it happened, or was it the 1st round? Y'all have to correct me if I'm wrong because I don't know. But I'm going to
I
say
think
it's
it
either
was
the
the
first
second
or
round.
I think it was the 2nd round. But a kid by the name of Jax Ulbrich, who is the son of the Atlanta Falcons defensive coordinator, Jeff Ulbrich, had called Shador Sanders on his personal phone and pretty much gave him a prank call and told him that the Atlanta Falcons were going to be taking him off the board. Or did he say the Atlanta Falcons were going to be taken, or was it just a?
I guess it probably was.
I didn't see
I don't know exactly who he
I didn't
said.
actually read anything that said the team attached to it. But anyways, what happened though is he called Shador Sanders and told him that he was going to be selected. And Shador, I mean, in that moment, I mean, that's the moment you have your phone. You are literally waiting for a phone call from a random number. And he received a phone call from a random number being told that he was going to be selected. And something came out today that on Wednesday that the Atlanta Falcons were going to be fined for $250,000 because of this event. And Jeff Ulbrich, who is the father of the kid, was going to be fined $100,000. Before this, though, Jack and the Atlanta Falcons all did release some statements, and I believe that the kid did get a hold of Shador Sanders and talk to him personally, and he did apologize about taking, the moment away from him, being like, and that this is something you dream of getting that phone call. Mason, what are your thoughts on this? Just the whole scenario in itself. You can talk about, like, was the kid in the wrong? I mean, obviously, I think we're all going to have the same answers on that. But even more so, dive a little bit deeper into the fines that the Atlanta Falcons received on that, and the coach himself, Jeff Ulbrich, who is the father of the kid who made the prank call. What's some? I think this is a very interesting thing because it's a lot of money to us, not to NFL organizations, but it is kind of interesting. So go ahead and share your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think the kid's in the wrong, for doing that. These guys get this opportunity once in their lifetime, and after, just think about it. You're going to the draft, you get an initial call thinking you're going somewhere. Kind of takes all the excitement away after that, right? Because every phone call you get after that, you're probably thinking, "Oh, here's somebody else, doing a prank call." So obviously, I think he's in the wrong for doing that. I don't think it's ever acceptable for anybody to be doing that. I don't know if y'all saw there was another one that happened during the draft. Did y'all see that?
There's
Mason
multiple,
Graham.
wasn't there? I mean, there were
Yeah, Mason
I
Graham was
mean,
another one that
yeah,
came out.
him. And there was a
Um,
couple of linemen that went like later in the
yeah,
draft that also happened to.
yeah. And then as far as kind of the fines thing go, I mean, from the NFL's perspective, I get it, right? You have to do something for that organization and for him for kind of allowing that to happen. And I know it wasn't necessarily his fault. He didn't know anything about it, I'm sure.
Yeah,
But
I forgot to tell the audience that. So the way that the kid got this phone number was off his dad's iPad. It wasn't like the dad gave, hey, dude, I want you to go make a phone. I mean, obviously he didn't do that. He got his dad's iPad. He was visiting, I'm assuming from college, and he located Shador Sanders' number, and that's kind of how this escalated. But go ahead.
yeah. So I think the NFL had to do something. And I mean, I don't have a problem with them throwing that fine out. I mean, as the father of his son, you're responsible, for some of his actions. I mean, Dylan, you and I have kids. If Beckett was to do that, I mean, obviously, I'm going to have to take some kind of heat, some type of responsibility for him doing that. Um, and like I said, I know it was kind of out of his control and immature on the kid, obviously, but I don't really know what else they could have done. I mean, I feel like they handled it in a good way. I don't know what the amount should have been. I feel like it's a fair amount. And I mean, if I'm that kid's dad, he's going to work off every penny of that, whatever it may be. If he has to pay me back over the rest of his life, we'll set up some payment plans. We'll sit down and figure it out. But he's obviously going to suffer consequences for what he did. Um, I don't know. It's kind of a unique situation and where this is and where it's at. But I don't see a problem with what the NFL did in regards to what happened. But I also think the other people that did it, do your investigation. You got all these other ones coming out. Let the same thing happen to them. If they ended up getting the phone number from somebody within that organization, no matter how it was, you have to keep that same standard across the board for all these other ones. So start doing your digging and figure out what happened there.
Yeah. Before we send it to you, Cole, nah, I really don't know how I feel about this. Obviously, I think that the kid was in the wrong, and we keep saying the word kid. I think I looked up. He may be like 22 years old. He's still a kid. I mean, obviously, I'm only 28, but 6 years when I was 22 and now I'm 28, it's a big difference. He's still in college. Still a lot of things to learn in the real world and understanding like, hey, some things are bigger than you. Some things you don't need to do. Um, I guess if I hadn't, I think the Atlanta fine. I understand that because Jeff, the dad, is attached to that organization. I just don't know if I'm in agreement with the 100,000 to the dad himself. I do understand that yes, he does have to. He's responsible for his son and those actions, but I think let the organization take care of that part of it, not the NFL. I think the NFL was a little stretch. Maybe I think that should just be fine to the program itself, which was the Atlanta Falcons, and then let the Atlanta Falcons do their dealings with the coach and not the NFL because I just I don't know. I just there's only so much you can control. Like that dude, that dad had no control of that situation. He had no idea. I mean, in his wildest dreams, he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna just sit my iPad down on my desk. I gotta step out." And then his kid finds that number. Like I don't know. I get it, but
I
I don't. Like it's really hard for me to decide on which side I'm leaning towards. But Colton, are you gonna? What are your thoughts on it?
So obviously, also like the kids in the wrong. I mean, it's not a good situation for him to do something like that. Here's where I'm gonna come at it though. Why in the world is like to me there should be I don't like I guess it's random number, right? But there should be one person for each team, and each of these kids should have that number and put it in the phone with that name. There shouldn't be some random number. You're waiting there because you're going to answer any random number, right? Because you
He's
don't
a
know who it's from,
defensive coordinator. Why does
right?
he have?
Like exactly. So like my thing is like if it Shadur got a call and it was a random number and he didn't know exactly like who it was, they should receive the one person on each team number, and they should have that name and their number in their phone, that they will be receiving a call from this exact number. With they can label it, oh, it's the Houston Texans, it's the Tennessee Titans, it's going to pop up that on your phone if you get a call. And to me, like, there should be no reason why you should be getting a random, especially in today's time when you get 100 different spam calls, right? But on that type of night, if you get a random call, you're like, gotta answer it, right? And so I'm that's number one for me. I don't know. I do not understand that situation at all. Like, they should have had names and like known exactly who was calling, and only had one person designated to call. I'm like you, Mason. Why the defensive coordinator has it in his stuff, I have no idea. But as far as the fines go, so I'm like you. I don't really understand the fine to the dad. If Atlanta wants to punish him, that's on them.
Yeah,
Like,
I think that's where I stand. Like that's
right, if
what
they want to punish
they
him,
need to
they
do
can sit there and say, "Oh, we're suspending your pay, or we're doing this for thing as a result of your son." And to me, I don't even understand the fine towards Atlanta. It's not like Arthur Blank, the rich owner, is going to have to pay this fine for essentially he had nothing to do with, right? Like, it's not like Atlanta went and gave this coach's son the information. Every single team in the league has the same information. They just got lucky, I guess, that their coaches, some of their coaches' sons, didn't get it. So fining Atlanta does not make sense to me either. I think it'd make more sense to fine the dad than it would to me to find the actual organization that had nothing to do with it. I mean, every organization had the exact same information, but because this one had a coach that, like, a son got into his iPad. I mean, come on now. Like, heck, I know he was 22, but heck, that kid could have been. I mean, you could have had a 14, 15-year-old do it, right? I mean, I just think I hate the situation for Shadur, because I can imagine how anxious you are on those nights. And the moment that your phone buzzes, you're immediately looking down thinking, oh, who it is, especially given his situation where thought he was going first. He's waiting any second, seeing where he's going to go. But at the same time, I mean, there should be other protocols in place to make sure there is no doubt who is calling my phone. Like, there is no doubt who this is. I know this one person is supposed to be the only person that will call me from this team. There should not be multiple people on that team that have his information, and it could be any random of those that call him.
Yeah, I mean, I just, like you all said, I just hated for Shador. The dude was, I mean, he was projected to go first round. It's not like he hadn't been through enough as it is. Like, I mean, he's been there, and then finally, it's like, man, what has took so long? And then he gets this, and lo and behold, he does it. It's not like he picks it up as like, oh, this is a prank call. Like, he falls for it. Like, this is legit. This is real, and like everything, like, in his head is like, this is it. I'm about to be, and it doesn't come out till maybe after the fact, like, oh, that was a prank call. Not that was kind of a wasted moment for me there. That's all I've been waiting for my entire life.
Yep. One moment I can get once in my life has now been ruined.
By a kid of the name of Jack Solpers.
Another thing, real quick. It's not like the dad's gonna hurt from this fine. He makes $1.6 million a year. You know, like,
he was just a temporary coach of the Jets, wasn't he?
yeah,
Isn't that the guy who just filled in after they got rid of?
I'm pretty sure he was, but I mean, he's one of the highest paid. Yeah, he's one of the highest paid defensive coordinators in the league. So, yeah. I mean, I get maybe not finding him. You know, maybe they should have came out and, sentenced his son to washing the jock straps all season long and handling laundry or something. Just to make him learn his lesson. Get those 300-pound linemen's jock straps and carry them to the washer.
I mean, could you all imagine though? I mean, like, you're sitting there, and I mean, I just can't get over, like, and a dude calls you, and that's the moment you've been waiting for this.
Dude, it's like Hooter calling.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Mason, go ahead and tell them what happened to us real quick.
So it was probably what, 2 months after we started this?
Yeah,
Maybe,
maybe,
maybe not that
maybe,
long.
maybe not that long. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyways, we had just started doing this podcast, and I get a random text one day. I'm at work, and I get a random text saying, "This is I don't even remember the name. This is so and so from UK Athletics. We caught wind of your podcast. We wanted to sit down and talk with you about maybe talking about some stuff. Would you be interested in that?" And the first thing I did was I screenshotted it and I sent it in our group message, and I was like, "This has got to be fake, right?" And they're like, "Yeah, it has to be." Like, ask who it is. Because they just text me that information. They told me the name, and I was like, "Well, how did they get my number?" Right? And so I was like, I don't know. I was professional about it. Like, hey, yeah, but may I ask, how you got my number? How'd you get in contact with me? And anyways, it ended up coming out one of our college roommates, cousin, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, one of our college roommates' cousins, and I think we won't say any names, but our college roommate put him up to it to mess with us. So I ended up calling him and kind of pranking him back a little bit.
Yeah.
Little funny inside story
But the
there,
only
but
thing though that made it kind of realistic, first off, I didn't even notice the number. It was a 270 number, so I didn't even look at that, like, because I couldn't see the number when you screenshotted it.
Mhm.
But the thing that I felt like made it even more realistic is whenever you talk to Brittany knew somebody in that department,
Mhm.
and that was like, oh, that's maybe how he got your number. And that's when I was like, hold on, wait a minute, are we onto something here? And I was trying to be optimistic. I was like, because I was hoping like this was real.
We're gonna
And
have to move to Lexington, fellas.
yeah, we're
we're
going to be
gonna be the
sitting
next.
media
courtside.
passes.
We're gonna be the
Yeah,
next.
media
Yes,
passes.
sir.
They're going what's going to say Mason, Colton, and Bulldog, and then everybody in the audience like, who's Bulldog? What in the world?
Hey, shout out any Kentucky media out there if you're looking for a new sign on.
Yeah,
We would actually take real phone calls.
Absolutely real
Don't
ones.
prank us, please.
Oh, so right now, currently, what the Lakers are playing the Timberwolves. They are down by 10, but it's kind of lead us into our next segment here is Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards is a young star who has took over the league, but a lot of there was a lot of talk about is Anthony Edwards going to be the face of the league, and I don't think anybody questions that he could or couldn't be. I think everybody understands that he absolutely can be the face of this league. But Anthony Edwards has went on the record on not just once, but multiple times and said he wants nothing to do with being the face of the NBA. All he wants to do is ball. Like that's kind of what he said. Like I just want to play basketball. Like I don't want that. What comes with that. Um, can Anthony Edwards will he change his mind on that? And because I don't think any of us can sit here and say argue like, oh no, he can't be the face of the league, because he definitely has the game to do it. He definitely has that. He kind of has that killer instinct.
Mhm.
He's cocky, but not like too cocky. He's that playful cocky that like kind of people like that doesn't come around often. And he is still so young. But Colton, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, like, why doesn't he want to be the face of the National Basketball Organization or Association, the National Basketball
Yeah.
Association, the greatest organization of basketball that you can get to? Why would he not want to be the face of this?
Yeah, to me, I think it just depends how you describe face, right? If you ask him if he wants to be the best player in the NBA or he thinks he's the best player in the NBA, especially after, LeBron or whoever else is going to be left retires, he would sit there and say, "Yeah, like I'm the best," right? Like I think he's going to have that type of confidence. So it just depends what you say face. Is he going to be the one that's going to be in all the Nike commercials? Maybe not. Is he going to be there at all the charity NBA events? Probably not all of them. Like I just don't think, like in his mind, it's not like it just depends how you say face, right? Like, yes, LeBron is the face of the NBA and he has been a while, but really, what does that mean? LeBron's just been very successful, right? And obviously, he's done different things as far as speaking up, or he's done different acts, but it's not like he is a lot of Jordan stuff come after he retired, right? The Jordan brand, the different, he invested all this different money back into the basketball, and now he's the richest NBA player of all time just because of his brand. So I think Anthony Edwards is the closest thing to actual Michael Jordan as far as a playing, like his style of play, um, since since Michael Jordan, just because of his size, the way he actually plays the game, shooting ability, athleticism. I think he's the closest thing to how Michael played. And I mean, he dropped the other night? 43 points in that game four.
Yeah.
I mean, I think all the tools are there. He's young, like you said. He's got that killer instinct. He's got that go take over mode. I'd like if you need him to go drop 10, 15 in the fourth quarter to win you the game, like you're gonna do it. Like if not more, like if you really need that from him. And so I don't know that he'll ever be the one that's like, okay, you're gonna be the one at all these volunteer events. You're gonna be the one at all these charity events. You're gonna be the one that the poster's made of. Because I mean, there's just several guys in the NBA that's probably their personalities fit that more. But as far as players wise, I mean, I don't see any reason why after LeBron retires that he, for the next 10 years, Anthony Edwards can't be in that top three, if not top guy conversation by far.
Well, it's interesting that we're bringing up Anthony Edwards because, Mason, you think about the faces, plural, of the league, of the young stars. I mean, I guess the first three that come to my mind, and maybe I'm not sitting here thinking of some more, but I think of Jason Tatum, I think of Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and I think of Anthony Edwards. Like, those are the three that, like, I ultimately go to. There might be another one that I just, for some reason,
Those
am
are three
not.
young guys.
Yeah,
Really,
young.
after LeBron retires, and the thing is, he probably won't be the face, but you'll still have like a Joker kind of and like I said, he's not, but he's going to be considered really until he retires. He'll probably be considered the best basketball. Oh, Luca, right? There's a couple of those type of guys, right? That are, oh yeah, these guys are probably going to be top 10 players also of all time.
So Mason, out of all those, like, does the face of the league for let's just say basketball play only, does that fit Anthony Edwards more, or would you lean maybe to argue maybe Shea, or and then you can also talk about like Colton said, like I guess like the charity events, even though like obviously people don't get on and say, hey, we're gonna have a charity event, the face of the league, LeBron James, because that like LeBron I think has done a very good job of that. That has nothing to do with being a GOAT talk. I think everybody will around say like he has carried that torch very well. I mean, he literally set up a school. He's done a lot for the NBA, but you can talk about both sides of it. What is where are you leaning towards?
Yeah, so initially, I think that Anthony Edwards could be like Colton said. I think he could very well be the best player in the NBA, and I think he knows that. And I think that that's kind of what Colton said. I think he knows that and wants to be the best player in the NBA, but I just don't think he wants to take on all those other things that come with being the face of the NBA. And back to he has all the tangibles, right? I mean, he can go take over a game. He has that killer instinct. We've already seen it here in this series. The way that he's going back and forth with LeBron and kind of pushing him, and so he definitely has all the tangibles to be the face of the NBA. But I think what it comes down to is just kind of his personality. That I mean, we've all seen the things, right, with him having a kid and basically, went to court. They were, she was like, I want this much child support a month. He paid all that up front, like, and some people are going to hate against that. He has a kid out there but right now that's his personality, who he is. He's focusing on basketball and just enjoying the game right now, right? And grinding, and that I think that's part of his mentality and killer instinct. I think that's where that comes in. Like, I don't really want any distractions right now. I don't want to be all these, perfect role model for all these people that look up to me and be the face of the NBA. I really think that truly he eats, sleeps, and breathes basketball, right? I mean, that's all he wants to do. And he does want to be the best player in the NBA, but he does not want to be the face that everybody looks to and everybody's, if he does one thing, they're criticizing him or, like LeBron, he's been in the league a long, long time. He's had a great marriage for the entire time that he's been in the NBA. He's raised, 3 great kids, never been in any trouble. He's done a lot for the NBA, donations wise, set up a lot of foundations. And Anthony Edwards is just sitting back like, look, I'm cool with all that. That's great, but I'm here to play basketball. That's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it to the best of my ability, night in and night out. So,
Well, and I mean, if you're Anthony Edwards, also, I think that you have to look at the perspective. Okay, like let me look at the faces of the league. Let me look at LeBron right now. Why would I want that? I mean,
no,
seriously, like why would you want the scrutiny that comes with it? Because that's not even talking about anything basketball related. Like they're already going to be scrutinizing you or finding a way to uh, talk about your game, about like what you need to improve on or what you did wrong here and there. That's not even including other things like, oh, off the court stuff. You're not even doing this. Like, why would you even want to? Why would you want to be the face of this league? I feel like if there's any league, and maybe this is just me being biased, but I think if there's any league where sports analysis kind of talk all the time about how bad and how awful it is, it's the NBA. I mean, do you all feel that way? Like, I truly feel like anytime I'm on watching any sport, not even ESPN, just any sports, it's talking about how bad the NBA is, the state of the NBA, the players, like how they run everything, and it's just a bad, bad place to be. Like, that's how I truly feel whenever I watch anything about the NBA. So, like, why would you want to be the face of that?
no, I agree completely, and I think that's where he's coming from. I saw something on X yesterday. I wish I would have liked it. Before we decided we were going to talk about Anthony Edwards, but it was kind of talking about how like his investments that he's making off the court. Like he's very quiet about these things. And he has somebody who handles all that for him. But I just feel like he kind of keeps all that other stuff quiet, and he doesn't want to get into all that. He doesn't want to talk about all this stuff. He doesn't worry about that. He has somebody that does that for him, and obviously probably talks to him about it. But that's his sole focus right now. I just want to come out here and play basketball. I don't care about all these questions. You're asking me about the league, what direction it should go. Who should do this, who should do that. He just wants to come out here and play basketball. And I agree, Dylan. Why would you want to do that? You're making millions of dollars right now doing the thing that you love, and you can continue doing that by not being
And
the face of the league
you're
and
being
still be the best.
successful at it at that too. I mean, you're
Right. You can be one of the best players, but you don't have to be the face of the league, and I think he'll maintain that approach, even if he does become, like Colton said, I think he has a lot of similar characteristics and mannerisms to Michael Jordan. The way that he plays, that killer instinct. Even if he does, let's say he rattles off and wins, 3 or 4 rings, I think he's still going to kind of be like, that guy where he just kind of takes a step back and doesn't try to butt into things when people ask him questions and just keep playing basketball.
yeah. Final thoughts on that, Colton, as we transition to our last
Yeah.
segment.
And the thing is, you don't know how much of that'll change as it gets older, right? So like I could see, like obviously, LeBron's got a year or two maybe left. I mean, I think LeBron really with his physicality, and like his body, really, if he wanted to, he could still have a very major impact on the game for probably another 5 years. Truthfully, he may not be the stud, but he could probably still average 15 at the age of 45 if he wanted to. But obviously his time is limited. And when he's done, what there's going to be is that next group that will carry the torch for a little bit because they're still in the league. The Hardens, the Kawhis, right? That'll still be around for just a little bit longer. The Jokers that I was talking about before they decide to retire after LeBron. Well, by the time that they really retire and that group moves out, and then you are to the Tatums, the Shays, the Anthony Edwards, the guys that are all young 20s, right? And by that time they're at like the 30s and those other guys are getting ready to retire. That's where I think you could see a big growth in someone like Anthony Edwards, especially if he goes ahead and wins a championship, right? You're going to be like, okay, he's won a championship. Eventually he'll probably be MVP. He'll go through all these accolades and he'll get to about 29, 30 years old. And at that point, I think he would see the importance of doing other things along with basketball. Not saying that he has to, or that it'll be bad if he doesn't, but I think a lot can happen by the time he reaches the age of 30. And so I think it could be interesting to just see how he is at that age. But I mean, he's a young star, and he's going to be a star for a long time, and there's a lot of good things ahead for him.
Yeah. All right, well, let's transition to our last segment for the night, talking a little bit of golf. So this week it is going to be played in Texas, the CJ Cup Byron Nelson. This field's not really stacked. It's not like a star-studded field that you may be used to when it comes to the PGA tournament. But you still have some big names. But if there was one star in this field that everybody's going to be looking at, it is the world number one, Scotty Scheffler. Um, he's going to be playing on his home turf. He's a Texas boy through and through. Went to Texas in college, resides in Texas. Big Dallas Cowboys fan, big Texas Longhorns fan. So, if there ever was a tournament for Scotty to break through for the 24-25 season, I think it's got to be this tournament, since if not the other ones that he hadn't, because he hasn't broke through yet. But this is the one for multiple reasons. He's on his home turf. It's not a field that he's having to compete against what he's used to competing in. I think that he's playing good. It's not like at the beginning of the season where he's having to get his feel of the game back because of his wrist or his hand injury. I think that this is something that Scotty needs this. He needs this week. Not that he has to and must win, but I think this is a big, big step for Scotty in his season. You talk about a guy who's come in and he's placed. He's had 5 top tens already this season, 3 in a row that he's had. His 4th at the Masters in his title defense. We've said it all year long. It's just coming down to that one round. I know me and Colton really talked about that a lot. It's just that one round that Scotty shoots like only 1 or 2 2 or 3 under, doesn't, and that's kind of what kills him. When you're looking at the favorites this week, obviously Scotty's at plus 280, and then it goes to Jordan Spieth. He's 18-1 odds. Then you have Sung J M at 22-1 odds. So I think that this is set for Scotty. I do. I also want to hear some guys maybe that you all like other than Scotty. I'm going to go ahead and throw one out there. I really like Sam Burns this week. I think Sam Burns is playing pretty good. I think that Sam Burns was in a little slump, but from watching him this year, he's playing a little bit better. Sam Burns, he's one of those guys that like 2 or 3 years ago, talk about the Ryder Cup. He was playing really good. And then he kind of, like you talked about previously on a couple episodes, he went in a slump. I don't really know. And it wasn't just a slump where he was like placed in top 20. He was missing cuts. He wasn't playing up to his caliber of play. So I'm really looking forward to Sam Burns teeing it up this week as well. Spieth has been playing as well, but I guess my sleeper would be Sam Burns, even though he's not a sleeper on odds. But I really like Scotty again. That's just what I think. Colton, what are your thoughts on the tournament this week? Any thoughts on the tournament itself? Who you like? Go ahead.
Yeah, obviously it's not a stacked field, but it's good to see some of these Texas boys playing in the Texas tournament, to keep it, a relevant, interesting field. Yeah, so outside of Scotty, I think he's going to be, obviously the favorite and wants still any tournament he plays in. But mine this week, I like a couple names. I like Jake Knapp. He's been playing well. Had a 8th place finish here last year. Obviously, just got second in New Orleans on the team thing, and then he also, he's had I can't remember what tournament it was, but he broke the course record one day at one of these tournaments this year. He's had some really good rounds where you can go low. It is a tournament. This is one of the final tournaments of the year, except for like the John Deere Classic, that like they go low. Low. And so Jake Knapp makes a lot of birdies because he hits the ball a long way. He's been playing very good. I like him. Also, keep an eye on Ben On. I think he's going to be my other sleeper. So I'm going to go with those 2. That's not Scotty. Last week was all over it with Novak and then the Horgaards. they finished. I listed both of those as my sleepers, and they finished first and second. So I want to see if I can stay hot with the Jake Knapp and the Ben On pick here.
Who'd you take in your pick 'em?
Jake Knapp. We took Knapp.
Take that. All right.
Yeah,
All
we
right.
we were between him, Spieth, and I personally like Tom Kim. He's also a Texas guy. He resides in Texas with Scotty, so I mean, he could be another one that's very familiar with that course. So, who do you like?
So I like Sam Burns. You already talked about him. Of course, outside of Scotty, I like Sam Burns a lot. I think there was one day at the RBC where he went pretty low. Maybe it was the third or fourth day.
I think it was that Saturday.
Yeah, I think it was Saturday where he shot like a 64 or something
I
like
don't know his
that.
shot, but I do remember him going low.
Yeah, he had a really good day. And one other one is Siwoo Kim. He's also from Dallas resident. Over the last 2 years at this particular course, he's never posted around over 68. So
Played very well too at RBC. Was going leading it.
Yep.
Just couldn't make putts. Didn't putt at all.
Putter kind of left him. It started the end of round 3, and then he didn't putt well on the final day. But I think he could get hot and have a good week again. And then one of my sleepers that I've kind of seen some people talking about is Ryan Gerard. He has 3 straight top 12s in full field events. I think he was top 30 at the RBC Heritage. So a little long shot sleeper pick there. We'll see what that one is. But those are my 3 that I like. Those are my 3 that I like outside of Scotty Scheffler.
What a name.
Go throw money on that one right now, Mason.
Jax Ulrich.
Ulrich.
He's
the favorite this week.
going to get a phone call from the PGA, and they're like, "You are now going to be a sponsored exemption to this tournament."
Yeah, all these guys are going to start getting fake sponsor exemptions.
Y'all see where Michael Block, speaking of qualifying, y'all see where
he qualify for the PGA again?
Yep.
Oh, and before we end tonight's episode, I do want to talk about something else real quick. What about Joe Griner is going to be taking over? That's a big one. He's going to be taking the bags for Colin Morikawa. That guys, I told you, Joe. I really like Joe. I think he's a great caddy. But that just goes to show you, for those who don't know, longtime caddy. What is his name? It just left me. For
Bones.
No, for Morikawa.
Oh, shoot. It's left me too.
What is his name? Griner. No. That's who Joe Griner.
Yeah.
I cannot think of his name. Okay, but anyways, Colin Morikawa is longtime caddy who won 2 majors with him. And Colin Morikawa, it's not like he's not been playing well. I mean, he's been playing great. And
the top 5 player in the world.
Yeah, and he is. He's getting rid of his caddy, and he's going with Joe Griner, who was on the back for Justin Thomas in the RBC Heritage win. And Joe Griner was on the back for Max Homa. That just goes to show you that PGA, it doesn't matter. You could be playing great, but if you're not winning, these guys, that's what they're about. They want to win, and they're going to find something that can get them in the winner's circle. So, just real quick, thoughts on that, and then we'll end it.
Yeah, I like Joe Griner, and I think, a lot of those splits, they just need new voices. It's not that the caddy's bad. It's nothing like that. It just, they need a different voice. They need something, whether it's a guy to tell them to not do it, or it's a guy to tell them to suck it up, or, be tougher on them than
just
this. Or you might just get too comfortable, right? You just might get too comfortable. You just need something to change it up. So I respect Max Homa. I mean, they talked about how good their relationship still was, and Max Homa obviously had been struggling. He just needed a change. And hopefully that works out for all parties. But yeah, I think him and Morikawa are going to make a pretty good team.
Yeah, I think something kind of that came to my mind with this. We talked a couple episodes ago about these guys, right? They go through these hot streaks and they play really well.
I got it. JJ. I don't know how you say his last name, but I know it's JJ. That's what it was. JJ Jakubak or something. But go ahead, man. Sorry I interrupted you, but I just had to get that. It was going to bug me.
You're good. But we talked about, a couple episodes ago about how these guys, they'll be playing really well, and then they don't really go through a slump, but right, they're not winning like they were. Can't kind of break through again. So I think it's this is kind of a way for Colin Morikawa not to try to tweak too many things, right? Let's just try something a little bit different. Let's not tweak anything that I'm doing on my swing. Let's just get a different voice in here, get a different perspective, and see if that can kind of help me break through and get back in that winner's circle. So I think it'll be interesting to see. Also, we talked about JT putting him on his bag full time, but that didn't happen.
Yeah. Well, that concludes another episode of Bluegrass State of Mind. Thank you all for tuning in and listening. As always, go Cats.
Go Cats.
That's a wrap for this episode of Bluegrass State of Mind. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Also, be on the lookout for our social media pages and be sure to follow them. We've got plenty more stories, insights, and conversations coming your way. And if you really loved it, make sure to share it with a friend. From the hills to the hollers, thanks for tuning in. Until next time, keep that Kentucky spirit strong.